So as you can tell from the title and thumbnail of today's video, I'm going to be giving you all of my tips and tricks for treating blackheads. Blackheads can happen on the forehead, the nose, the chin, really anywhere on the face. Blackheads are a little collection of built up dirt, oil, and dead skin cells in the pore, and that then becomes exposed to air, oxidizes, and turns black. And in dermatology, we refer to these as open comedones. This is in contrast to closed comedones. I have a video on closed comedones, by the way, so if that is you, check that video out. But blackheads are, like whiteheads or closed comedones, part of acne, but people can have blackheads without necessarily having acne per se. People who tend to have blackheads are people who have really oily skin. People with combination skin can also have blackheads. So how to deal with them? My number one tip to consider, although it's going to vary a little bit individual to individual, is to consider washing your face twice a day. Now this is in contrast to what I do, as you have seen in my skincare routine. I only wash my face in the evening, but consider washing your face twice a day. Wash your face in the evening to remove dirt from throughout the day, as well as pollutants, your makeup. Wash your face in the morning as well to remove any oil that is built up on the surface of the skin throughout the night. People with oily skin, they produce more sebum or oil, and they do so on a regular basis. So when they wake up in the morning, sometimes they find their face is greasy and oily. If they let that sit on the skin, it definitely can contribute to worsening a blackhead. So consider washing your face twice a day. But it's really going to depend on you and kind of your background skin type. Some people with blackheads and combination skin, they may find that washing their face with a cleanser twice a day results in exacerbation of those patches of dry skin. So if that's you, then you kind of have to figure it out. It's going to be very individualized. And along those lines, my second tip is if you work out during the daytime, sometime throughout the day, which many of you do, consider washing your face again after you work out. Again, this is not something I do. I work out at night, and as soon as I get done with my workout, I basically hop in the shower and wash my face. So it's a little different from what I do. But when you work out, you have oil that sits on the skin and mixes with the sweat from your workout, and that mixture of oil and sweat together can be very irritating if it just sits on the skin. If you work out in makeup or sunscreen, then that mixture of oil, sweat, and makeup, sunscreen can really cause some irritation and also lead to blackheads. So consider washing your face after you work out. With all this face washing though, be sure and use a moisturizer. You don't want to try and dry out your skin. This doesn't really help the issue with blackheads and can really just aggravate your skin. And if you have a tendency towards acne, it can make you have acne. So make sure to use a moisturizer after you cleanse the skin, and choose one that is labeled oil-free. The reason being, oil-free formulations of moisturizers tend to be liked better by people with oily skin. They don't feel as heavy or as greasy. So I'll list some of my favorite oil-free moisturizers down below in the description box. You guys also asked me about the blackhead strips, like the Biore pore strips. Are those good? Are they helpful? By and large, they're not. Really, all they do is they kind of strip off the very, very superficial part of the blackhead, and they don't really address the underlying issue. So transiently, it may look a little better. However, the action of removing that strip is very irritating to the rest of your skin. So more often than not, they cause more issues than benefit, but many people will be like, oh, I swear by the blackhead things. They get rid of it, and if I'm going out, I like to do a blackhead strip beforehand. It just makes my skin look better, at least for the evening. Fine, but it's really not going to correct the underlying issue. Next question that I get a fair amount is, should we be doing extractions? Extractions involve using a comedone extractor to extrude the contents of the pore. I say skip the extractions. They tend to lead to more harm than good. Doing extractions is something that really, in my opinion, only a dermatologist should do, because certain lesions on the skin are not amenable to extractions and can scar if extraction is attempted. And I've seen many cases of people who get extractions done in a salon and come in with worsened acne that ultimately scars as a result of the extractions. So I say stay away from the extractions and do not do them at home. You can really set yourself up for a lot of scarring and problems down the road. You know, in dermatology we use it, but only on select skin lesions of acne, and in those cases it can definitely be helpful. My next tip is to not skip a broad spectrum sunscreen, whatever you do. I think a lot of people are scared that wearing their sunscreen will actually clog their pores and worsen their blackheads, but it's really an important part of taking care of your skin and an important part in your journey to improvement of your blackheads. The reason for this is that ultraviolet radiation damages the skin and not only sets it up for skin cancer and aging, but it damages the supportive framework and collagen structure. And when that happens, the surrounding skin basically becomes a little bit more saggy, and those pores become more prominent and the blackheads become more noticeable. There's actually specific types of blackheads solely related to sun exposure. I mean, it really is a definite contributing factor to the appearance of blackheads. So protect your skin from those damaging UV rays. I recommend, just like with moisturizers, choose a sunscreen that is labeled oil-free. These tend to go over quite well with people with oily skin that is predisposed to blackheads. My favorite oil-free sunscreen is EltaMD UV Clear. I'll list it down below for you guys, but I personally don't wear it that much because it is pretty matte. But if you have oily skin that's prone to blackheads, that is a really good one to consider. It also has niacinamide in it, which can help reduce oiliness to a certain extent, so definitely give that one a try. It is a favorite. As far as skincare products, the next tip is to consider using an exfoliating product 2 to 3 nights a week. And by exfoliating product, I mean a product that has a chemical exfoliant in it, and I'll talk a little bit about the nuances of that in a moment. You want to avoid over exfoliating your face. That really doesn't help the blackhead situation, but doing it 2 or 3 nights a week can definitely help in clearing out some of that buildup and improving the appearance of blackheads. You just don't want to overdo it. As far as what products to choose, you can choose either a leave-on product or a product that has an exfoliating ingredient in a wash form. If you have oily skin that is not sensitive, consider using a leave-on product. But if you have really sensitive skin, sometimes the leave-on products can be too irritating for you because the exfoliants, they do cause a certain degree of irritation. People with super oily, non-sensitive skin sometimes can tolerate that just fine. But if you have more sensitive, oily skin, consider using an exfoliating ingredient in a wash vehicle. Either a wash vehicle or a product that is more like a mask that you put on, leave on for a little while, and then wash off. That's just short contact time. You can derive benefit from the active exfoliating ingredient, and it reduces the amount of irritation that you might experience. So what is a good ingredient for exfoliating? In my opinion, the best ingredient for blackheads as far as an exfoliant and for truly targeting blackheads, I mean very, very specifically honing in on blackheads, is going to be salicylic acid. This concentrates in those oily surfaces, the pores, and it can really help to clear out that build up and improve the appearance of blackheads. One of my favorite leave-on salicylic acid based products for those of you out there who have oily skin that's not super sensitive is Paula's Choice 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. This is fantastic. It's cruelty free and it doesn't have any drying alcohols in it. So if you have a tendency towards more combination skin, this is a great one to consider because it's not going to exacerbate any background dryness that you might also have. But also, if you have more sensitive skin, there are some great salicylic acid washes that I will list down below that you can just lather to the affected area where you have the blackheads, leave it on the skin for that lather on the skin for a few minutes, and then rinse it off. Just doing this 2 to 3 nights a week can really help in improving the appearance of blackheads. The other type of acid that you might consider is an alpha hydroxy acid, but personally I don't really find that to be that helpful. Alpha hydroxy acids include glycolic acid, lactic acid, and mandelic acid, to name a few. I have a video talking about alpha hydroxy acids, but they largely work to exfoliate the skin on the very top layer. They don't really concentrate in the oily surfaces because they are water soluble, so they're not as great, in my opinion, for blackheads as salicylic acid. Also, when it comes to stuff that you buy in the store, there is so much variability in formulation of alpha hydroxy acids that is really hard to know that you're getting something that's going to be effective for your blackheads. It may not be strong enough to really exert much exfoliant activity, and it's hard to know that because the strength of the alpha hydroxy acid product isn't merely a reflection of the percentage of the active ingredient. It has to do with the formulation overall, because that impacts something called the free acid value and the overall availability of the acid. So it really varies a lot from product to product. So I say don't waste too much time on alpha hydroxy acids. Focus on salicylic acid. That really can hone in best in the oily surfaces and really be most helpful, in my opinion, for blackheads. What about microdermabrasion? Microdermabrasion is a procedure that you can have done in a dermatologist's office. Honestly, of all the procedures that we do, I find that one to be the most underwhelming as far as outcomes. Yes, it can improve the appearance of blackheads, but it's mostly very transient. And it kind of costs a lot of money depending on the provider. So I say, talk about it with them, depending on some of your other skin issues, it may be helpful. But overall, I find it underwhelming. You can buy devices at Sephora, of course, and a variety of other retailers to do this at home, but I also say skip that. You can really set yourself up for a lot of irritation and problems. It's really not going to control the blackhead issue or give you sustained outcomes, and they are pretty expensive. Like PMD, for example, has one, and Trophy Skin. These are like $200, $300, depending on the kit that you buy. What about masks for blackheads? Actually, some masks can help to improve the appearance of blackheads, and they can kind of help in reducing the blackhead formation to a certain extent. Like the exfoliating products, I would only use masks for blackheads 2, maybe 3 at the most nights a week, and I would not use them the same time that you use the exfoliating acid. They can be very drying and irritating. But the best masks for blackheads are going to be those that are basically clay masks that have the active ingredient or combination of ingredients that include kaolin, which is a clay, or bentonite. These clays help to wick up some of that oil and bind some of the kind of dirt and pollutants and whatnot. So they do have a gentle cleansing property, and they draw some of that oil up out of the pore. They help to draw some of that sebum or oil up out of the pore, and they can actually give you some good control, albeit modest, of the blackhead situation. So they can be actually very helpful. And a newer on the market clay mask that I actually really like a lot, and I recommend you guys consider trying if you're into these clay masks, is by Cetaphil. I'll list it down below. It's their Derma Control, I believe it's called, clay mask. It has bentonite and kaolin clay, I believe, as well as avocado oil, so it's pretty moisturizing, and it's a really good one. Another one that is kind of almost a carbon copy is Proactive's Amazonian clay mask. This is actually pretty good, but honestly, I think the Cetaphil one is comparable and a lot less expensive. So both the Cetaphil one as well as this are free of added fragrance. I've reviewed the Amazonian clay mask for you guys. That's another option, but you have to reconstitute it yourself. But it is very inexpensive. So those can be helpful a few nights a week if you have blackheads. Whatever you do not squeeze your blackheads. That will not help your cause. It only causes inflammation and irritation to come into the skin. And it can cause scarring. A lot of people develop scarring as a result of picking and squeezing and popping their skin. However, it can be, it can be a very strong compulsion to pick at these and squeeze these. And so if you find that you've done that, what should you do? I recommend applying a cool ice pack to the skin for a while. This will just reduce inflammation in the skin and kind of help buffer against some of that insult. So that would be my tip, but do not squeeze your face. It can cause a lot of problems, including scarring. If you have blackheads, don't punish yourself by using a self-tanner on the face. That's only going to make them more noticeable. Self-tanners, the active ingredient is called dihydroxyacetone, and the same way that it tans the surface of your skin, it will robustly bind to that little admixture of oil, dirt, sebum, and sticky skin cells down in the pore. It will bind to that and tan that, and it'll make the blackhead more noticeable. and you know, it'll sit in there for a while. So avoid using self tanners on your face. Definitely can make your blackheads much more noticeable. Along the lines of the self tanners, take a look at the ingredients in your makeup. I have a video talking about makeup ingredients that break you out. Some of the most common ingredients in makeup that can cause acne exacerbations for people and also worsen the appearance of blackheads include dyes: red dye, yellow dye, blue dye. The other ingredient is coconut oil. That definitely can be a problem for people with acne in particular and can worsen the appearance of blackheads. So take a look at your makeup. Long-lasting formulations of like foundations, like long-wear foundations, can also exacerbate acne and worsen the appearance of pores. If you are a makeup wearer, which I am not, I recommend considering switching your makeup over to mineral makeup, like Bare Minerals. Physicians Formula makes a variety of mineral makeup as well. And my favorite is Dermablend. They have some mineral products. These are great if you like wearing makeup. These are a great choice if you have blackheads because they often will contain active ingredients that help in wicking up sebum and oil, much like the clay masks. They often have starch, like a little bit of cornstarch or some other similar ingredient that can help draw some of that excess oil out of the pore for you and not worsen the blackhead situation like some non-mineral cosmetics can. My last tip is to consider using a retinoid, whether it be prescription if your dermatologist has determined that is right for you, or over-the-counter Adapalene is a great choice for blackheads. I've got several videos talking about Adapalene, so I'm not gonna belabor all those points here. But retinoids, whether it be Adapalene or prescription retinoid, can help to normalize some of the skin cell biology in the cells lining the pore and help improve that rate of plugging up of the pore that happens in people who have a tendency towards blackheads. But yeah, blackheads, they're not pleasant, and some people are just more predisposed to them than others. So I hope these tips were helpful to you guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.